Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
You know, think about this little phrase when you think about personal responsibility. If guns kill people, then pencils misspell words, cars make people drive drunk, and spoons make people fat. Bunch of idiocy, isn't it? Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Thursday. Good morning, good morning. And a good morning to you. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and our major sponsor of our program, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a great big fall tire sale going on right now. And along with Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line, start the day off right with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Doug. I am up to my neck in alligators today. I'll talk to you in a little bit, okay?
You know what to do when you're up to neck in alligators?
Drain the swamp. There you go. Thank you very much. And right now, let's have this good word for Brad Little.
Brad Little is running for governor to put Idaho families first. Brad Little's plan: invest in our teachers and more local control of public education. Continue to fight against rising health care costs. And tax cuts to create more opportunity for working families. And to keep our economy growing. Here's Brad Little.
I grew up on an Idaho ranch, and I still work on one today. Idaho's where we raised our family and where our grandchildren are growing up. I'm running for governor because I want Idaho to be a great place for them and the best place in America to pursue a dream. I have a plan to improve our schools and create better paying jobs, and I have the experience to get it done.
A rancher, an experienced leader. As governor, Brad Little will put Idaho families first.
I'm Brad Little, and I'd be honored to have your vote.
Paid for by Brad Little for governor. Vicki Risch, treasurer.
And thank you very much. And right now it's time for the weather, brought to you by K&R Rental. Hello, Roger and the crew at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn, right there smack dab. Can't miss it on the Burley-Paul Highway. The best of tools and equipment that you need to finish any kind of a project or tilling up those gardens. They got all the tillers. They got the excavators. They've got it all for you. Log splitters. It's all there at K&R Rental. And, of course, the number 678-3122. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It is the first day of November, and it definitely feels like winter is in the air. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Mostly cloudy skies for today. It is going to be breezy, winds out of the west, right around 21 miles an hour. We are expecting gusts as high as 30 miles an hour and a high of 57. Tonight, those clouds are going to stick around. We are expecting a low of 43, wind gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. Now, tomorrow, we are going to be in a wind advisory. That is going to be in effect through 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Expecting a high of 62, gusts as high as 35 miles miles an hour. By Friday night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 37. Saturday, hopefully those winds are going to be dying down just a little bit. Out of the west, right around 16 with gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 50 for Saturday. Saturday night, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 37. By Sunday, 40% chance of showers in the forecast, mostly cloudy skies, and a high of 53. That's a look at your weather forecast for 7th Rain.
Wow. I mean, old wind going to be cycling through here. The weather brought to you by K&R Rental. 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn. Please remember they've got all the best of tools and equipment for rental over at K&R Rental. 678-3122. Right now, Merv May, come on in here. How are you?
All right, hey, good set of steer calves there, here to get $1.31.
Oh, that's the chant of the world's best auctioneer, Merv May, over at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley, with Merv May, Cade Rogge, Lance Udy, the sale that works for you. For cattle consignment information and sale information, don't forget 678-9411. Going to have another ripping good sale today. Ward Dairy of Burley's bringing in 101 Holstein steers, weighing in at about 750 pounds. Cade Rogge, you bet. There's a good old boy over there in Rupert, 39 head of calves, weighing 5.5 to 600 pounds. Buck Hedges of Declo bringing in 40 head of ripping good calves. And Ron Spillett of Rockland, up in that good Rockland country, 80 head of calves. And butcher cows coming in from P-Bar S Dairy, 40 head, I believe, Acme Dairy, Funk Dairy, TLK Dairy. All of this is going to start things off at 10 a.m. this morning at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, the sale that works for you. Don't miss it. 10 o'clock this morning, sale time, Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Merv, sell those steers.
All right, hey, good set of steer calves there, here to get $1.31, 1.5, 31, 1.5, 32, 2.5, 3.5, 134, 4.5, 5.5, 135, 50, 135, 1.5, $7.35. Zeb Bell, get the bottom again.
Wheels, if you would, please, can we have this good word for Proposition 2?
This is Governor Butch Otter, and I want to tell you why I support Proposition 2. Proposition 2 is an Idaho solution that would bring our tax dollars back to Idaho and expand Medicaid to tens of thousands of hardworking Idahoans, instead of Washington, D.C. sending our tax dollars to other states, like California, to pay for their health care. Proposition 2 brings millions of our federal tax dollars back to Idaho where it belongs. It will expand Medicaid to working Idahoans, people who work hard but can't afford health care. Proposition 2 isn't a handout. It's an Idaho solution that will help working families. Proposition 2 will help our rural hospitals, save taxpayer dollars, and create jobs. So join me and vote yes on Proposition 2. It's the right thing for Idaho.
Proposition 2, endorsed by law enforcement, doctors, business groups, chambers of commerce, and Governor Butch Otter. Vote yes on Proposition 2, paid for by Idahoans for Health Care. Dr. Bruce Belzer, Treasurer.
Thank you very much. Now, I'm going to ask one word of all my listeners, all my callers today, and that one word is patience. Patience, because I'm going to have a whole bunch of commercials to do today because we're so close to the election next Tuesday. By the end of 11 o'clock this morning, I should be able to be put in my little harness and taken out into a dark padded room and just sit there and not do anything. Good morning, everybody. Hey, don't forget our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric. I really appreciate those good folks. As a matter of fact, Rita will be on the air with us later on this morning. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. For all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs right there. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. Once again, that number is 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, in business over 6 decades of serving you. Also want to acknowledge, I got to tell you quickly, I had a person call me here a couple of weeks ago and said, well, you shouldn't have so many commercials on your program. You should charge a lot more so you don't have so many. What? I have no control over that. And by the way, we treat each and every sponsor, each and every politician the same with all equal respect. Thank you very much. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Oh, it is America's Diner. Holy moly. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner anytime, all the time. You stop in and check out the delicious menu choices. They are fantabulous, along with the great service. You're going to love it. Honestly, it's the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, Denny's Restaurant, with Thomas and the crew at 611 North Overland in Burley. Yeah, buddy, it is America's Diner. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I have a question out here this morning, and really I'd like to have an answer. How in the world can the state of Florida, a state that is extremely, very, very important for any presidential election, how can Florida even think about electing black socialist Andrew Gillum as governor? And right now, as we speak this morning, in the polls, if you want to trust the polls, he's roughly about 3 percentage points ahead of Ron DeSantis. Now, this Gillum is under investigation for fraud and possible financial misdealings, and he's an open border guy. He's openly a socialist guy. Have we got to this point in this country? Maybe we've kind of sat back and gone, poo-poo, it'll never happen here in the United States. And one of the largest states that has so much influence on our elections might elect a black socialist as governor? I mean, you think about this. It's really, really scary. Gillum is absolutely so far left, the needle won't go any further to the left. And I'm really concerned that he's going to win. And this morning, they had a reporter at one of the Florida diners, and he was going around from table to table to table. It was Pete Hegseth on Fox News. And he was asking the diners who wants to have Gillum as their governor. And I mean, everybody in the diner booed. Okay, so this is at a diner in Florida. Cross-section of people having breakfast, coffee, starting the day off, and they all booed loudly against Andrew Gillum. So, what does it tell you? The people that were there at the diner, before they go to work, every one of them that were interviewed were either retired or get to the diner early in the morning before they go to work and have a job and have responsibilities, absolutely do not want Andrew Gillum as governor. But it must say a lot for the inner cities. The gimme, 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 I want, you pay, I take attitude. That Andrew Gillum is in the lead for being the governor. This is absolutely scary. Caller, one moment. I'll be right with you. I want to remind everybody about some of our great politicals that we have on our program, including Jim Patrick. And he is District 25 State Senator. And he wants to thank all the people that have supported him in the May election. And right now he says thank you, as he is a lifelong farmer and is going to continue serving us in the State Senate. Jim Patrick in Legislative District 25. He urges you to get out and vote next Tuesday, November 6th, and know and understand Propositions 1 and 2. As a matter of fact, I urge you to vote yes on both issues. I really do. And I know I'm going to take some heat over Proposition 2, but I've studied it, looked at it, and even though I had a lot of animus on this for a long time, I'm going to vote yes, I believe, until somebody changes my mind. But on Proposition 1, absolutely a no-brainer, vote yes. Boy, I've elongated his spot. Don't forget to vote November 6th, paid for by Jim Patrick, District 25 Senator. Wheels, can we have this good word for Fred Wood, please?
With us now, Legislative District 27 State Representative Fred Wood.
Hi, I'm Fred Wood. November the 6th is General Election Day. This election, all statewide constitutional offices and all legislative seats are up for re-election. In addition, Idaho citizens have placed 2 propositions on the general election ballot. Proposition 1, historical horse racing, and Proposition 2, Medicaid expansion. These propositions are citizens' opportunity to participate in direct democracy. Please go vote on November the 6th. Paid for committee to re-elect Fred Wood, Steve Westfall, treasurer.
Thank you very much, Fred. And don't forget, too, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. I'll be there at 1 o'clock. That's my scheduled time to work on that old leg of mine. And, of course, Nick Greenwell, physical therapist, and all the physical therapists are excellent. They know their trade, and they can help you. Absolutely. 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And the telephone number to make a call, make an appointment, please let them help you get back to being you. 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, absolutely the best. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. You know, in Florida, we really got a problem because, excuse me, but the problem is that there's a lot of people that are very reserved. They do not want to speak out because of retribution. And I believe there's quite a few thugs in Florida trying to influence this black man that's running for governor.
Yeah, but Keith, hold on a second. Hold on a second there, my friend. It's not just Florida. I use Florida as an example because it's such an influential state in politics. Look at the same situation over in Georgia with the woman that absolutely is going on the stump for the governor's chair, Stacey Abrams. She was the same woman that years ago burned the Georgia state flag. She is the same woman that is advocating open and no borders for the United States. Oh, and by the way, she's being promoted by Oprah Winfrey.
Well, that right there would be enough reason for me not to vote for her. But anyway, it's just not coming out the way it should, but it will in the end, because people are just not voicing their opinion right now.
They'd better.
They're going to vote until they get to the polls.
Yeah, but wait a minute. There's been a lot of pre-voting. Wait, Keith. There's been a lot of pre-voting, early voting, if you will, and I'm very concerned. I think that, and I know I'm looking on kind of a clandestine effect here, but I honestly think that early voting can cause more problems than it helps. In other words, I think it can become a little shady. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Voting is a sacred thing in this country, and to announce that one party's ahead of the other before the election, that is just suicide. It's just like Florida and California. Look at the difference, Sarah, of what happens in Florida and what happens in California.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. I'm very, very concerned about any power play the Democrats might try to push on us. I got to run. Today's a day of patience. You got to work with me a little bit. I'm really late. Thanks, Keith. All right, buddy. Bye. Thanks. Caller, I'll be right there. Please do not pass go. Do not collect $200. I promise I'll be right with you. I also want to remind everybody, Speaker of the House and District 27 State Representative Scott Bedke urging you to go vote next Tuesday, November 6th. And remember, please, and understand the Propositions 1 and 2 and all the people up for election. And Scott also urges you to vote for Brad Little for governor. Absolutely. Legislative District 27 State Representative and Speaker of the House since 2012, Scott Bedke, paid for by Scott Bedke, District 27 Representative. I also want to take just a moment here to brag a little bit about another good friend of ours, and that's Kelly Anthon, District 27 State Senator. This is a man that really cares. He really cares, and he is standing up for conservative principles and voting to protect Idaho values. Very, very strong with his opinions and support of agriculture and all that is good for the Idaho family. Don't forget, Legislative District 27 State Senator Kelly Anthon urges you to go vote next Tuesday, November 6th, and know and study the propositions paid for by District 27 Senator Kelly Anthon. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. I figured out why he's ahead in Florida. It's all them dead people that's going to vote. There's more people that have died in the United States than the people that live in Florida. And, you know, they'll use my mom and my dad and anybody else in my family that's died to vote for him.
Well, it's a scary situation, Jerry, and I'm not even going to make facetious remarks about it. I just can't understand how this country, and you being a veteran, you should be scratching your head and asking, how in the world could anybody, any group of people think about electing a socialist that is so far left with open borders and socialistic bends on his political values? How could anybody vote for him?
I have no idea. It makes absolutely no sense to me. That's why I told you. I think the only way he'll get in is if every dead person that ever died voted for him. And I'm sure the Democrats will dig up their names and use them.
Well,
Democrat for anything.
Yeah. I'm just really, really worried about the status of our country when we have in Georgia a lady by the name of Stacey Abrams that's an avowed socialist and wants all the borders removed, and she's been in enough hot water all her life and now getting into politics, wanting to be the governor, and Oprah Winfrey supporting her. And then we have Elizabeth Warren, you know, from the East Coast, Massachusetts, and when she was asked about possible campaign ethics violations, I didn't know anything about it. I'm really concerned about the caliber of people that are running.
Well, I am too, and I'm hoping in the final outcome on the 6th that the Republicans carry every seat in the House.
I agree with you. I agree with you. You know, I'm going to say this.
Every seat in the Senate is up for election, and I hope during the next 2 years we get every liberal judge out of office.
Amen.
And put them somewhere where they need to be other than directing our judicial system.
I agree with you, Jerry, and thank you. Have patience with me today. It's a busy, busy day. God bless you, man. Thanks.
Yes, may the Lord bless you and your whole audience.
Thank you. Don't forget, there's going to be a big open house tomorrow and Saturday, November 2nd and 3rd at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, boy, big open house. Lunch is going to be served on Saturday. They're going to have great deals on everything in the store with prize drawings and special buys on all the Suzukis. Woohoo! Get on over to Let's Ride for the big open house this weekend, Friday and Saturday at Let's Ride. Don't you miss it. Absolutely. Caller, I'll be right there, I promise. I also want to remind everybody about Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. And Dr. Bill, Dr. Jordan, the whole crew, their main goal is to keep all the animals healthy. Absolutely. Whether it's a great big herd of dairy cattle or a itty-bitty kitty cat, they're going to take care of them, and they're going to get the best of treatment. Don't forget Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. The number to call, 678-1177. And they do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Don't forget, too, at Ramsey Heating and Electric, they've been in business over 6 decades, and along with Lennox products, they are offering up to $1,600 in rebates on qualifying equipment purchases. Call them today and find out more. 678-0459, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Yep, over 6 decades serving you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. It's a yummy man on the Senior Junction on South Overland menu. Today is chicken fried steak, mashed taters with white or brown gravy, squash, and applesauce cake.
Oh, applesauce cake. Oh, so that's not just applesauce cake. It's yummy applesauce cake.
You're right. And we have take-out lunches, but I'll cut it short so you can get those political ads out.
Hey, God bless you, Joe. I appreciate you. Understand what I'm going through today, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your call. We'll send everybody over to Overland Avenue to the Senior Junction. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have
You
a
bet.
good one. Everybody show up.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Caller, I'll be right there. I also want to remind everybody, Dino Septic Service, absolutely they do the job that you and I, no, we don't want to do. Septic tanks pumped and septic tanks and drain fields installed, liquid waste removal, all of this, water and sewer lines installed. They do it with a smile on their face because they serve you. And they've recently expanded their business to serve more people. Dino Septic Service. Don't you forget the numbers 436-6526 or in Burley 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service with the big truck that says smells cargo on the way. Dino Septic Service. You see them or call them today. Caller, good morning and thank you for your patience.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Hello, Tony.
The big problem we're having is the change in demographics, number one. Number two is the anti-white movement going on in this country. And I think that's what the problem's going to be in a lot of places in this country.
You know, Tony, you touched on something that is oh so true and becoming oh so prevalent, is the anti-white feeling in this country. When I heard the remarks from Don Lemon, a black CNN host, saying that white men are bad and white males are terrorists and a huge terrorist threat, I about fell off of my chair. That's an openly, blatantly racist remark made right there on CNN News.
Well, who's been doing more for the country, Barack Obama or Donald Trump?
Well, there's no question. But there's no question. I'm not going to equate it to color. I'm not going to go to skin color. I thought Barack Obama was a man that was highly unqualified to be the president of the United States, and I still feel that way. I feel that his administration put us in a real mess for 8 years. That had nothing to do with skin color. Nor I equate Donald Trump. Nothing to do with skin color. He's just, I think, a much sharper businessman that knows how to run the country. But when you have someone like Don Lemon, a CNN host of the news, saying that white men are the problem and white men are terrorists, that's openly and blatantly creating a real hatred for the whites in our society. And personally, I'm really offended.
Well, there's going to be a lot of white people that are totally against this guy, and it's going to cause a lot of agitation eventually in the cities.
As it should. As it should.
So let's hope it doesn't turn into big riots, race riots, and that's really going to be a lot of destruction for this country.
I agree with you, and I'm so glad you brought that up. I am sick and tired of turning on certain newscasts, especially like on CNN or MSNBC, and the people on the screen are looking into the camera and blaming me as a white man for the nation's problems. Are you kidding me?
You know, I grew up around a lot of different people back where I come from. And to condemn an entire race because we got some bums out there, that's something I'd never go for.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Black friends back there.
When I look at our past history,
good and better than some of others.
Yeah, I agree with you. When I look at our history and I think about what the sacrifices were in the Revolutionary War with George Washington and the putting this country together, Thomas Jefferson, right on down the line, President Abraham Lincoln and everybody else up to Dwight D. Eisenhower, etc., etc. I don't care what their skin color was. They were for America. And I'm sick and tired of the racial divide that's being caused by nincompoops like Don Lemon on CNN.
Well, they've got the freedom of speech, and I don't know how we're going to stop them. It's going to be up to the public to actually open their eyes and see which person, whether you're black or white, is going to do the most for the entire country and not just a special section.
I totally agree with you. Totally. Tony, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Wheels, we need to hear another good word for Proposition 2.
This is Governor Butch Otter, and I want to tell you why I support Proposition 2. Proposition 2 is an Idaho solution that would bring our tax dollars back to Idaho. and expand Medicaid to tens of thousands of hardworking Idahoans. Instead of Washington, D.C. sending our tax dollars to other states, like California, to pay for their health care. Proposition 2 brings millions of our federal tax dollars back to Idaho, where it belongs. It will expand Medicaid to working Idahoans, people who work hard but can't afford health care. Proposition 2 isn't a handout. It's an Idaho solution that will help working families. Proposition 2 will help our rural hospitals save taxpayer dollars and create jobs. So join me and vote yes on Proposition 2. It's the right thing for Idaho.
Proposition 2, endorsed by law enforcement, doctors, business groups, chambers of commerce, and Governor Butch Otter. Vote yes on Proposition 2, paid for by Idahoans for Healthcare. Dr. Bruce Belzer, Treasurer.
Thank you very much. And, of course, we have a surprise guest coming on later on this morning for a short time, about 7 or 8 minutes. And I'll tell you who the surprise guest is. It's going to be Governor Butch Otter himself. That's coming up later on this morning. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts. And they've got 3 locations to serve you. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan. Hello, Juan! And, of course, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls with Eli. Oh, yeah. And Nampa location. Well, I'll tell you what they've got right now. You can't afford to pass this up. 0% interest up to 60 months on the Bobcats. Woohoo! And they've got all the Bobcat shapes and sizes. All of them there. Equipment rentals, retail equipment sales. Remember the best. Barry Equipment and Rental, Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. Also, another great lady that's running, and we want you to be sure and keep her in office. She's doing a great job, and that's Lori Likely, Idaho House of Representatives, District 25A. Her family is a fourth-generation ranching family from over on the north side in Jerome, and a Republican nominee for the Idaho House of Representatives, District 25. Known the family for a long time, and Lori recently served as president of the Idaho Cattle Association. So remember, Lori Likely for the Idaho House of Representatives, District 25A, paid for by Likely for Idaho, Bill Likely, Treasurer. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
Do you remember back in 2016 when the polls just before the election give Hillary Clinton an 80% chance?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of them said 80, some were at 70-30, some were, like at 75-25. I mean, they were absolutely cleaning out the barn, and every forkful had Trump's name on it.
Yep, and their intention was for the Republicans, the conservatives, to, we're beat, why do we even need to go vote?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're doing the same thing.
Yeah, but wait a minute. They're doing the same thing, but I'm going to say this. When Pelosi made those remarks the other night on television, that absolutely it's a slam, I'm incorporating my own phrases here, but she basically said and inferred that the election is a slam dunk, the Democrats are going to win, the Democrats are going to take back the House, the Democrats are going to make big advances in the Senate, we're coming back, nobody can stop us attitude. And I thought, lady, I want nothing more than to see you and your gavel go straight to the edge of San Francisco Pier and drop over.
Yeah, and I like that TV host that she was talking to. I don't watch him, so I have no idea what his name is. But he said, are you going to stay this off of Hillary's fireworks barge that she had planned?
That was on the Colbert Show the other night. And the Democrats, as far as I'm concerned, they need a good, swift kicking. Honestly, I am serious. They need to be beat so bad in this election for their resist, their chaos, their lack of a platform. Honestly, I'm going to come right out and say it. I don't want to see one doggone Democrat elected.
I don't either. Because what platform are they talking about?
They're tell me.
About breaking the country with Medicare for all. I mean, one payer. That's what they want.
Single-payer insurance will absolutely... I'm going to say this and stand behind my words. If they incorporate single-payer insurance, you better believe that is a death knell for our elderly. It's a death knell for anyone that's waiting for surgery that absolutely is going to save their life. It's going to absolutely slow down and move backwards health care in this country for our citizens.
Exactly. That's exactly it. It's going to take the ones like us, you and me, Zeb, because we're of that age.
We're long in the tooth.
If we need a major surgery, we're not productive anymore, so why waste the money on it?
Yeah, we're kind of living in, I'm going to come out and say it, and if somebody wants to arbitrate, well, that's the thing, though, Doug. The Democrats don't have the guts to call this program. I'm going to come right out and say that there's almost a perpetration of a hemlock society. If you're not useful and you're not doing anything that really is going to help us, get out of the way, go die.
Well, for an analogy that most people in southern Idaho will understand, we're a dairy herd. When a milk cow stops producing and stops making money for the owner, then she goes to hamburger.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's going to happen to the American citizen if there is a one-payer health care.
I hope they put cheese on me. Doug, thank you so much.
Hey, did you know what happened 80 years ago on October 30th?
Are you talking about that football game?
1938.
Are you talking about the Green Bay Packer game?
No.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Talking about the Orson Welles that War of the Worlds was.
Oh, yes.
I've seen that on a little tidbit that. Yeah, 80 years ago, 1938. I thought you'd remember that.
Well, thank you very much. You smart aleck. All right, buddy.
Let's do what we can for our seniors. Let's use them, rent their facilities. Let's take care of them.
Absolutely. Doug, thank you so much. Got to run. Thanks. Caller, I'll be right there, I promise. I want to remind everybody about the Bennett Boys Auction Service coming up this weekend. They've got the Sutco Incorporated and Mike Suter Estate Auction. It's going to be at 10 o'clock Saturday morning, November 3rd, this Saturday. Located a little bit north of Jerome, 450 East, 330 North. From the blinking light on Highway 93, go north 3.5 miles. Look for the signs, boys. You're there. They're going to have a ripping good sale. Lunch by the Cook Shack, pickups, trucks, trailers, motorcycles, construction items, trailers, backhoe, tractors, farm equipment, all of this and more at the Sutco Incorporated Mike Suter Estate Auction, and it starts at 10 o'clock this Saturday, managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. No sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys, yep, they sell them all. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Morning, Zeb. It's Leiden. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Good. Hey, I was just listening there to Doug and you talk about the expansion, if you will, of the healthcare system and how you're concerned about the one-payer system. And I just, that's not something that I think is being hidden anymore, and it's a concern to me as well. You're having Butch Otter on here in a little while, correct?
Yes, at about 10:19.
Okay. I listened very carefully to his lieutenant governor, Mr. Little, when he was campaigning, as well as the other gubernatorial candidates back in the spring when we were going through the primaries. And all of the Republicans were against the initiative in Idaho to expand Medicaid. That wasn't something that they wanted. And, the commercial that he just had on the radio a few minutes ago seems to kind of contradict the position that they had earlier this year.
And
I was wondering when he comes on today, I hope that you'll question him about, what's the change in stance and why are we all of a sudden behind this when it seems to be moving us closer to that single-pay system, and it's something that Idaho has fought.
And Leiden, let me interrupt you for a minute and say something. I was on the fence on Prop 2 myself for a long time, and I was against it, and then I kind of leaned forward a little bit, and the main thing that I think I've switched my feelings on, and honestly, I'm not sold all the way yet, but the way I'm thinking right now is that we can pay now, or we, like the Fram oil filter ad, we can pay now or we're going to pay a whole bunch more in the future. And there's a lot of things that stick in my craw about Proposition 2, but the one thing that I am worried about, and that's the smaller hospitals not being able to keep up with funding and still provide services if we don't do something about the money allocation. That worries me a lot.
Yeah, I guess that in of itself worries me a lot, too. I look to a lot of the doctors and other people who are starting to work for many of those hospitals. And, when I was a kid here in Burley, there used to be a lot of self-employed doctors. but now most of the doctors are employees, and they're being paid in a huge part by that Medicaid money and Medicare funding as well. And I think that there's more efficient ways of doing it, and I think the medical industry, in and of itself, needs to make some of those adjustments. The government funding that's going to be behind this Medicaid money is going to be drastically reduced in a couple of years. We are going to be stuck with that bill, and that's going to be us as the taxpayers. And so I think it's either pay more later or pay more later. It's not this is going to fix it. It might be all right for a year or two, but once that funding, which was initially instituted with Obamacare, runs out in 2020, it's not going to fix it. And I don't think it's a good health fix either. So,
I really appreciate...
I'm curious to see what Mr. Otter has to say.
I will make sure that question is asked, and I thank you, Leiden, for calling in this morning. You're a great, sharp young man, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. I got to get to the weather. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much. A sharp young man, sharp caller, and boy, that Prop 2. I mean, I'm still kind of twisting and turning on that one, but Prop 1 is a slam dunk for me. I think absolutely yes to help the horse industry in the state of Idaho. A weather forecast. As you can tell, I'm running way behind here this morning, and the weather forecast brought to you by our dear friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they're located right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. And the number to call is a easy number to remember. Dial it right now, 312-0957. They've just introduced Dr. Shane Hunsaker as a new member of their staff with Dr. Pickup and Dr. Mitchell to better serve your hearing health needs. Absolutely. I urge you to call the number and make an appointment, 312-0957. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It is the first day of November, and it definitely feels like winter is in the air. Here's a look at your weather forecast for us at the ranch. Mostly cloudy skies for today. It is going to be breezy, winds out of the west, right around 21 miles an hour. We are expecting gusts as high as 30 miles an hour and a high of 57. Tonight, those clouds are going to stick around. We are expecting a low of 43, wind gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. Now, tomorrow, we are going to be in a wind advisory. That is going to be in effect through 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Expecting a high of 62, gusts as high as 35 miles an hour. By Friday night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 37. Saturday, hopefully those winds are going to be dying down just a little bit. Out of the west, right around 16 with gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 50 for Saturday. Saturday night, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 37. By Sunday, 40% chance of showers in the forecast, mostly cloudy skies, and a high of 53. That's a look at your weather forecast for 7th Rain.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to everybody by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They are the best at what they do. Believe me, get a hold of them today. Make an appointment for a hearing screening. That number, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Don't forget the great big open house at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, it's Friday and Saturday this week, November 2nd and 3rd. Lunch is going to be served on Saturday. They're going to have super, super great deals going on in the store, prize drawings, and you get a chance to be seeing all the new Skidoo snowmobiles. Woo! Get over there to the open house at Let's Ride this weekend, Friday and Saturday, Highway 24 in Rupert. Let's ride. Wheels, can we please, we're busier than a one-arm paper hanger this morning. Can we please have this good word for Proposition 2?
This is Governor Butch Otter, and I want to tell you why I support Proposition 2. Proposition 2 is an Idaho solution that would bring our tax dollars back to Idaho and expand Medicaid to tens of thousands of hardworking Idahoans, instead of Washington, D.C. sending our tax dollars to other states, like California, to pay for their health care. Proposition 2 brings millions of our federal tax dollars back to Idaho, where it belongs. It will expand Medicaid to working Idahoans, people who work hard but can't afford health care. Proposition 2 isn't a handout. It's an Idaho solution that will help working families. Proposition 2 will help our rural hospitals save taxpayer dollars and create jobs. So join me and vote yes on Proposition 2. It's the right thing for Idaho.
Proposition 2, endorsed by law enforcement, doctors, business groups, Chambers of Commerce, and Governor Butch Otter. Vote yes on Proposition 2. Paid for by Idahoans for Healthcare. Dr. Bruce Belzer, Treasurer.
Thank you very much, and I know that we're crammed and jammed this morning, but please give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Want something else to really kind of ruffle your feathers a little bit this morning? This really, a lot of people would just go ho-hum. But I couldn't. I was so mad that I punched the wall when I heard this, and the only person that was hurt by it was me. The United Nations, hold on, caller, I'm a-coming. The United Nations came out with an edict. Listen to this. The United Nations came out and said that we, the United States, have to, H-A-V-E-T-O, have to take in the caravans from Central America. Wait a minute. Since when do we take orders from the United Nations? Since when do we take orders from anyone, including the airbags that sit at the head table at the United Nations? This is ridiculous and absolutely should be thrown in the trash. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Boy, you have scratched my itch. First of all, Obama knew what he was doing when he put in Obamacare. He ruined the health community in our country, and he made it so that when the next time to decide on health care things, the people who are already connected to his plan, they're not going to give it up, and it's going to be, we'll never be able to get rid of it. And then the other thing that you were just talking about, what was that?
The United Nations?
The United Nations. Why can't we pull the plug on them? After all, we welcomed them and let them have a big block of land in New York City so that they could influence. And it's kind of like inviting the wolf.
Oh, no, we lost her. Cell phone died. I'm so sorry, Chris. Nobody pulled the plug on our side. It just sounded like all of a sudden the phone just went by. Mine does that occasionally. You know, she's really right. I'd love to see the plug pulled on the United Nations. I'd love to see all these countries really have to divvy up and say, hey, wait a minute, we're sorry we said and demanded this of you. But for the United Nations as an entity to tell us, you and me, Mr. and Mrs. America, Mr. and Mrs. Taxpayer, we want you and absolutely you have to accept these people from Central America? I get a simple answer. No. Caller, real quick. I've only got a minute left in this segment. Real fast.
Well, this is Trish again, and I think I got a dropped line.
Okay.
But when are Americans going to wake up and keep our sovereignty? Those people are coming here to invade, and all the way along on their journey, they're getting help from our enemies.
That's right.
The border.
That's right. Chris, well spoken, and I appreciate your points. I've got to run. I'm way late this morning. God bless you. Thank you.
Let you run.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. No, the day that our country, the United States of America, listens and kowtows and bows to the beckoning of the United Nations, we're all done. For them to tell us to take these caravanners, that just makes my blood boil. Wheels, can we please have the good words for Proposition 1?
It's an Idaho tradition going back generations, horse racing, and Proposition 1 will bring it back. Yes, on Proposition 1. It's all about Idaho, creating hundreds of local jobs, restoring millions of dollars to local classrooms, all with full transparency and real accountability. And the Idahoans sponsoring Prop 1 are doing even more, donating 100% of net profits from their horse racing operations to a new charitable foundation, the Treasure Valley Racing Foundation for Rural Idaho, dedicated to supporting education, scholarships, healthcare, and economic initiatives, serving rural families and communities all across our state, supporting programs like 4-H and FFA, and providing financial assistance to students pursuing degrees in areas like agriculture and animal science. Yes on Proposition 1, the campaign with a heart for Idaho. Paid for by the Committee to Save Idaho Horse Racing, Create Jobs, and Fund Public Schools.
Thank you very much, and that's a slam dunk as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely vote yes on Proposition 1. Don't forget a great big fall tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Woo! All 7 locations, all the tires for your car, your pickup, your SUVs, your trailers, etc. Whatever you need tires for, they've got them at prices that you can't afford to pass up. Stop in and see them today. And, oh, by the way, don't forget the best in brake service, running alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. Going to get colder? Be ready. They've got everything right there for you, along with the best of service. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, of course, the Twist family and Paul, great folks, Daniel on Pauline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. Nobody better. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Wow. Thank you for your patience. Coming up next hour, the Chamber Report, Cassia Regional Hospital, all kinds of goodies, 9:30, Rita Ramsey. Don't go away, Zeb at the Ranch. Wheels, you've done a great job this morning, old buddy. It's up to you now. Take us up to news. Oh my, here we go into hour number 2 on a Thursday. Thank you for tuning in. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a great big fall tire sale going on right now. And also Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Wheels, could we please have this good word for Proposition 2?
This is Governor Butch Otter, and I want to tell you why I support Proposition 2. Proposition 2 is an Idaho solution that would bring our tax dollars back to Idaho and expand Medicaid to tens of thousands of hardworking Idahoans, instead of Washington, D.C. sending our tax dollars to other states, like California, to pay for their health care. Proposition 2 brings millions of our federal tax dollars back to Idaho where it belongs. It will expand Medicaid to working Idahoans, people who work hard but can't afford health care. Proposition 2 isn't a handout. It's an Idaho solution that will help working families. Proposition 2 will help our rural hospitals save taxpayer dollars and create jobs. So join me and vote yes on Proposition 2. It's the right thing for Idaho.
Proposition 2, endorsed by law enforcement, doctors, business groups, chambers of commerce, and Governor Butch Otter. Vote yes on Proposition 2, paid for by Idahoans for Healthcare. Dr. Bruce Belzer, Treasurer.
Thank you very much. And don't forget our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, along with Lennox products that can help keep you comfortable and save you money. Ramsey Heating and Electric offering up to $1,600 in rebates on qualifying equipment purchases. Call them today and find out more. 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Absolutely over 6 decades of serving you. Let's also not forget our friends at Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors, Holly Road. This is a wonderful idea, absolutely a wonderful idea of service to seniors. That's right. They offer personal assistance with maybe meal preparation or light housekeeping, errands, companionship. Really a service to help seniors in their homes. Find out more. Call Holly at 312-5715. That number again, 312-5715. Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors, 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley. May we please, Wheels, have this good word for Fred Wood, and then we'll be right back.
With us now, Legislative District 27 State Representative Fred Wood.
Hi, I'm Fred Wood. November the 6th is General Election Day. This election, all statewide constitutional offices and all legislative seats are up for re-election. In addition, Idaho citizens have placed 2 propositions on the general election ballot. Proposition 1, historical horse racing, and Proposition 2, Medicaid expansion. These propositions are citizens' opportunity to participate in direct democracy. Please go vote on November the 6th. Paid for Committee to Re-elect Fred Wood, Steve Westfall. call, Treasurer.
Thank you very much. And right now, without further ado, she's chomping on the bit. She's at the starting gate. She's ready to go. Sarah Seymour at the great Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you today?
I am up to my neck in alligators trying to get everything on, but by golly, it's a treat to have you on the air. Give me a little chance to sit back and catch my breath.
Oh, perfect. Well, we appreciate you having us on, Zeb, and I'm going to go through things a little quickly today because we are getting ready to start our board retreat. This is a time when all of our board of directors comes together and we set out the groundwork for this upcoming year. So we're so excited to have our new 2019 board of directors, Lyden Crane with Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, and Brian Beckstead with Project Mutual Telephone. They will be joining our board of directors for 2019, so welcome to them. A few more things that are coming up in the chamber. We have our Ambassador Luncheon, monthly Ambassador Luncheon at noon at Maury's Steakhouse on November 7th on Wednesday. We do this every month. It's a great chance to meet some people in your community who work with the chamber and are great ambassadors for the chamber. So come on over, Maury's, November 7th at noon. Also, our monthly member luncheon is going to be held November 8th. That's the second Thursday of every month. This month it's going to be at Doc's Pizza and Rupert, and we're going to have Tammy Hanks sharing with us about the Caring and Sharing Festival in Minidoka County, and Alicia Samples talking to us about the Kaja Festival of Trees. So we're going to kick off the holiday season right with giving back to our communities. We do still have our photo contest open. This is going to run until February, but start sending me pictures now to make sure that you get them in the contest. We also have opened the sponsorship for our annual installation banquet, which will be held Thursday, January 24th, at the Burley Best Western Inn and Convention Center. So give us a call at the chamber if you're interested in being a sponsor for any of those events that we have coming up. We have lots of new members this time of year, and I'm still surprised that we're doing ribbon cuttings in the cold. But Castiani Restaurant is going to have their grand opening Friday, November 9th, and it's going to run all day from 11 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., so you'll have a chance to get down there and see what they have. They're going to be sampling their food, they're going to have giveaways, and they're even going to have music in the evening. That's located at 1229 Overland Avenue in Burley, and we will be doing a ribbon cutting for them that morning. So get on over there to Castiani in Burley. We can't wait to see you. First American Title Company is still accepting donations for their Stocktober stock drive. And if you need any more information about that, they're going to be wrapping it up for the season. They're located at 417 North Overland Avenue in Burley. We had a great time at the Fabricel Trunk or Treat last night. Thank you to everyone who brought your kids out. It was so much fun seeing all of the costumes. We had a wonderful and safe Halloween. We really appreciate that. We do have another ribbon cutting coming up here pretty soon in November. It's going to be at the Kaja Regional Hospital in the city of Burley. They just did that new sidewalk right there by the hospital on the corner of Highland and 16th. And we're going to have a ribbon cutting to celebrate that. That'll be on Wednesday, November 7th at 4:30 sharp. So we'd be honored if you would join us for that. St. Nicholas Catholic School is going to have their annual fundraising gala on Saturday, November 10th, and that's going to be located at Best Western Burley Inn. Doors open at 7, the live auction starts at 8, so go on over, support St. Nicholas Catholic School. Also, we're doing our board retreat up here at Albion Campus Retreat, and I'll tell you what, Zeb, it is a beautiful, beautiful location. And they're doing a lot of corporate catered dinners, and they're going to have Santa this winter, and they're going to do dog sleds and Christmas lights and coffee bars and food. It's just going to be an amazing event. If you need any more information about that, go to albioncampusretreat.com or even call us at the chamber and we can get you their contact information. We do have the Caring and Sharing coming up this winter and the Kaja Festival of Trees. We will have more information on those as it gets closer. And I just wanted to give a big shout out to McCain Foods. You know, we do have this program called Chamber Cash, and it is a way to keep our local money local, investing in our local businesses. And McCain's went out and bought 700 $20 Chamber Cash certificates for their employees for a holiday bonus. So we're so excited. We thank them, and we thank them for keeping their money local right here. So that's all I've got for you today, Zeb. We're going to kick off our board retreat.
I'll tell you what, real fast, I can't let you go without, first of all, complimenting you on running through all those items as efficiently as you did. And you gave me a chance to have a little respite here from my talking, but I've got to have a Sarah's Groaner for this morning.
Okay, I do have one. Are you ready for it?
I am.
Okay, why did the Scarecrow win the Nobel Prize?
Why did the Scarecrow win the Nobel Prize? I have no idea.
Well, of course, it was because he was outstanding in his field.
You're right, Sarah. That's a groaner. Thank you. God bless you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Deb. Have a great day.
All right. Sarah over at the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce does a great job on Thursday with that report. I don't know how she gets through all that stuff. Excellent, excellent job. Holy moly, we've got a bunch of things to tell you about. First of all, our friends over at Hanson Mortuary, and we thank Joel Heward. Yes, the manager, along with his family and the staff, serving you and your family at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. I'd like you to write this number down and call them for pre-arrangements and information that we all need. The number 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. And they always treat you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity at Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Really nice people. Let's also mention, excuse me, I've been fighting a cold all week, and then my lovely bride came down with a cold, and she's shooting daggers at me. I got your cold. Anyway, I want you to remember about a great big harvest sale going on at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Listen to this, 40% off the retail price. 40% off all the furniture and mattresses and dining room sets and motion furniture, bedroom groups. No money down, no interest, up to 48 months on approved credit. Woo! Get in there today. Great big harvest sale at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley with Jeff and the crew. Great people, and really beautify and comfortize your home for this fall and winter at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More in Burley. Right now, 40% off harvest sale. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, my good friend Wheels over at the main studio, we're going to listen to more and find out more about the great people that are your friends and neighbors serving you at Cassia Regional Hospital.
People caring about you and your health care in the most professional and progressive ways. That's Cassia Regional Hospital, located at 1501 Highland Avenue in Burley. In a moment, we'll introduce you to just one of the many dedicated medical experts serving you at Cassia Regional Hospital. Today's program, right after this. Cassia Regional Hospital provides you and your family excellent health care answers and services. They're right here, close to home. That's right. Cassia Regional Hospital offers the latest technological advances in medicine, like their new oncology programs and telehealth, which uses electronic information and telecommunications to promote long-distance patient and clinical health care. Your friends, your neighbors. Cassia Regional Hospital, 1501 Highland Avenue in Burley. Quality care close to home. Right now this morning we get a chance and an opportunity to visit with more of the wonderful people and caring people at Cassia Regional Hospital. And with us on the program this morning is a wonderful lady, Melinda Williams, nurse administrator of Intermountain Home Care and Hospice. Good morning, Melinda. How are you?
I am great. Good morning, Zeb.
With all that being said about nurse administrator, Intermountain Home Care and Hospice, what does all that mean?
So really what my position is to facilitate providing for our community and getting the home care needs out to the community. So I oversee the home health and hospice programs in our area.
Okay, now, how do they go about working with you? I mean, I'm a little naive on this, and help me a little bit. I mean, does a family call and explain their situation, or do the doctors call you for the patient? How does this all work?
So it starts with the doctor's order. The family can call us and ask for help and how to facilitate that. But really, if they can just get with their doctor, the doctor can give us the order, and then we can go into the home and assess the needs that are needed.
Okay, when you assess the needs, can you break that down a little bit and explain more of that?
So we will send a nurse in, and the nurse does a complete whole evaluation. So we look at the health of the patient, we look at their psychosocial, we look at their environment. We try to take it all in to see if there is anything that we can provide. And then we take that information back to the doctor, coordinate with him, and see if we can help out.
Now, these patients that you're talking about, they know that they've been given some information that's probably not what they wanted to hear, and you're trying to work with them and make sure that the quality for the remainder of their life is extremely high, correct?
That is correct, and it's different for everybody, so it's very individual. We really go for what their goals are.
When you say goals, I mean, at that stage, what are the goals?
It could be that they want to have a family connection that they haven't had, and so we bring in social work to work on that. It could be that they want to make a last fishing trip, and so we try to bring in the resources to make that happen. It could be that they just want to be comfortable, and so we bring in the resources just to keep them comfortable.
You know, what kind of training, Melinda, have you had in your past? I mean, this kind of work, I admire you, and I respect you for being able to do this along with your staff. It can't be very easy.
So we have actually specialized certification training on the caring of end-of-life, traumatic caring, if they've had a traumatic event that's caused them to be at this point, and ongoing. We have resources that we can pull from if it's something unique to us and we haven't seen it very often.
Okay, now what kind of a staff do you have? I mean, do you have quite a few folks that are going to various locations, various homes, and working with patients? What basically and how do you do your job daily?
So I have a really robust staff. I have a group of nurses, a couple of social workers, a chaplain. We have therapies if needed. We have physical therapy, occupational, and speech. And what we do is once the nurse has been in there and has identified the needs that that patient has, identified their goals, talked to the doctor, then we assign out, and we try to pair the clinicians that I have with the patient. So if the personalities want someone who's softer spoken, we send out a softer spoken clinician. If it's someone who just really is honest and out there, kind of a little brass, we send out someone who can match that.
Now, let me ask you this. Working with the patient, but what about the family? I would imagine the stress, the worry, and the fatigue the family is suffering. Do you also sit down and work with them?
Oh, absolutely. That's a strong part of our social work responsibility. And one thing that we are able to offer, because we do work so closely with the hospital, is if the family becomes tired or they need a break or they even just need to run errands or they need to leave town, we provide volunteer services to go sit with the patient, or we can even bring them into the hospital under a respite stay. So their loved one is cared for while they take care of themselves.
You know, an obvious question that I had while I was sitting here listening to you is, do men get into this field as much as women, or is it predominantly a woman's field?
You know, it's amazing. It's about 50-50 universally. Our team is strongly female, but I do know some really strong hospice male nurses that do a great job, so it's nothing that a male should shy away from.
What is the main theme that you, on behalf of Intermountain Home Care and Hospice through Cassia Regional, what's the number one thing you'd like my audience to know?
I just want them to know that we are here in our community. We are here to serve the community, and be there. We want to make sure that at whatever stage you're at, you are living your healthiest life possible, and we're able to help you get there.
Now, do you take like notes and on the different visits and go back to the doctor, and it's kind of a great big team effort? Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, we're an interdisciplinary team, and so the doctor sits with our team. Every 2 weeks, we're sitting down and we're discussing the patient as well as with the patient. So we all have input. We make sure we're working towards their goals.
Absolutely. Now, if people have questions, and I'm sure a lot of people would, what's the best way to get a hold of you and perhaps arrange a visit or get some information?
Yeah, I would be glad to visit with whomever. You can call our office here on Main Street in Burley, and that number is area code 208-678-8844. You can ask for me by name, Melinda, and I'd be glad to set up a time to discuss our options.
Well, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your coming on the program. You've been on before, did a wonderful job. You did it again today. The nurse administrator of Intermountain Home Care and Hospice and Cassia Regional Hospital. Thank you, Melinda Williams, and God bless. And I know it's not too early to say I wish you a very happy Thanksgiving.
Well, thank you.
Tune in every Thursday at 9:18 right here on Zeb at the Ranch for more about the people and the healthcare services at your Cassia Regional Hospital, 1501 Highland Avenue in Burley. Quality care close to home.
Really, really nice people. Thank you very much. Right now, don't forget the great big open house that's going to be going on at Let's Ride. Oh, yeah, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. Open house this Friday and Saturday, November 2nd and 3rd. Lunch will be available on Saturday. They're going to have great, great deals going on with all the different units, parts, and accessories. Prize drawings. You might be a winner. And don't forget special buys on all the Suzukis. Get over to the open house at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 in Rupert, where the fun is sold. Absolutely good people over there. Wheels, may we please have this good word for Proposition 2?
This is Governor Butch Otter, and I want to tell you why I support Proposition 2. Proposition 2 is an Idaho solution that would bring our tax dollars back to Idaho and expand Medicaid to tens of thousands of hardworking Idahoans, instead of Washington, D.C. sending our tax dollars to other states, like California, to pay for their health care. Proposition 2 brings millions of our federal tax dollars back to Idaho, where it belongs. It will expand Medicaid to working Idahoans, people who work hard but can't afford health care. Proposition 2 isn't a handout. It's an Idaho solution that will help working families. Proposition 2 will help our rural hospitals save taxpayer dollars and create jobs. So join me and vote yes on Proposition 2. It's the right thing for Idaho.
Proposition 2, endorsed by law enforcement, doctors, business groups, chambers of commerce, and Governor Butch Otter. Vote yes on Proposition 2, paid for by Idahoans for Healthcare. Dr. Bruce Belzer, Treasurer.
Thank you very much, and don't forget our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Hello, they are great. With all the life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and more, and they being Cameron and Siemens, so dedicated and responsive to your needs, absolutely devoted to serving you. Please call, make an appointment today, 436-4424, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really, really nice people. Absolutely. By the way, again, I want to mention to you that Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, very proud to offer service along with Lennox products that can help keep you comfortable and save you money. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric offering up to $1,600 in rebates on qualifying equipment purchases. All you gotta do is call them at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, with over 6 decades of serving you. Really good folks. I mentioned a moment ago, and I want to mention again, that the Let's Ride folks, Nick and Randy, the whole crew, they're going to have an open house on this Friday and Saturday. Excuse me. And they're going to have lunch on Saturday. They're going to have super deals. This open house, and when they put on an open house, they put on an open house. They're going to have prize drawings. They're going to have lunch on Saturday. They're going to have special prices on parts and accessories, special buys on Suzukis, and you get a chance to see the new Skidoo snow machines. Woo-hoo! All of that at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and it is so true. That's where the fun is sold. We have a very busy schedule today. due to the fact that we're leading right up till next Tuesday with Election Day, with all the commercials, etc., for all our great politicians. And I want to remind you, have patience with me. We're going to get through everything today. And coming up in just a moment, Rita Ramsey. Then we're going to have next hour Cache County School Days along with everything else. So don't you miss a minute of it. I also want to urge you, as I turn the paper, and remind you about Representative Clark Kaufman of seat 25B. And Clark, of course, has really done an outstanding job working for tax policies that are business and family friendly. And, of course, he supports funding for infrastructure for roads and bridges to maintain our export economy in Idaho. And I know personally that when I've asked him something, the job gets done. Absolutely. Representative Clark Kaufman, seat 25B, paid for by Clark Kaufman, Representative 25B. You have a good man there. Let's keep him. Let's see, what else have I got cooking here real quick? I want to remind you, in the time remaining, and I know she's waiting on the line for me, and I'm going to get right over there, that we have another lady that absolutely needs to keep her values in the Idaho House of Representatives, seat 24B. Linda Wright Hartkin is a compassionate conservative that believes in our Second Amendment and is pro-life, and above all, she has common sense. With Representative Linda Wright Hartkin, we have a person that's a problem solver with integrity. Vote November 6th for Linda Wright Hartkin for House Seat 24B. We need to keep her values. Paid for by Elect Hartkin Wright Committee, our Wright Hartkin Committee. She's going to kill me for that. Rich Stivers, chairman. There you go. Thank you very much. Oh, my goodness. Over the river and through the desert we go to Rita. Good morning, Rita Ramsey. How are you?
Good morning. I'm real good. Thank you.
You know, one of these days, I would like you to come over here during election time and just sit here at the studio and watch me sweat trying to get all these commercials in.
I imagine it takes some careful planning.
Oh, my goodness. I get up at 4 in the morning and we go dot this I with this one, cross this T, everything, and it's not easy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm getting just a little bit weary on this election thing, so I'm glad it's next week.
Well, let me ask you, I know that you have lots of points of interest, but what is the most, of course, now this might be hard to define because there's quite a few worries that I have, but what's the most defining as far as what you're worried about?
I think my big concern, of course, is the House of Representatives and the Senate. If we can hang on to those, we'll be able to go forward. If we don't, then we're just going to have nothing but a big battle, and there will be impeachment charges, and absolutely nothing will happen. And all the good stuff that has been going on in the last 2 years will deteriorate away, and America will not be able to know that this is America, I fear.
You know, and Rita, I want to chime in agreement with you. You and I, we agree on most things, but when we don't, we can discuss them and come up with some common ground. I am so concerned about how and why the American public would even think. Let's talk just a little bit about the Florida race for governor. What is the matter with those people in Florida even thinking about electing that black socialist Andrew Gillum when he's under investigation for fraud and possible financial misleadership, etc.? Well, how can you even think about him? And he's in the lead right now.
Well, it just makes me wonder. First of all, I just don't know that I believe in polls anymore after they've fouled up the last 2 or 3 elections.
True.
It's kind of like, you know what? People are just lying to you because they don't want to talk to you, or you're making up polls via people that you want to hear from, not who, we want a real feel for what's going on here and unbiased.
Right.
They don't do that anymore. I think all the pollsters is like, well, he's a conservative pollster, or he's a Democrat pollster, and you always hear their opinion instead of them saying, okay, this is what we're really seeing. They don't ever tell you that, because I think it puts them out there saying, if this isn't true, I was just wrong.
Yeah.
And I think they're more afraid of being wrong than they are of telling the truth.
The thing that bothers me is that whether it's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, her name always bugs me, as a young upstart that absolutely does not have the education, does not have the knowledge to be representing people in a political office, an avowed socialist. Then we have in Georgia another woman that is running for the governorship of Georgia, Stacey Abrams, that believes in no borders, everybody come on in, another socialist, and Oprah is backing her. And then this situation with Gillum. And this situation is growing around the United States, and it's really scary.
Well, it is, and if people would just use common sense, they have to know, people have to be smart enough to know that the bottom line is that you stand to lose a lot out of your wallet, but the freedoms that we're going to lose if we don't keep America free and keep the Constitution at the top of the list of protecting it, it is going to be absolutely horrible. We thought that going through the Obama years was really bad, and things just went downhill. Everything as far as economically, things just stood still if they didn't go down, south.
Right.
And all the things that they implemented and got in under the line and everything else that they did, we thought was bad. Well, it's going to be worse than that if we get the Democrats back in charge in the House or the Senate.
I totally agree. We have a caller with a question, and I'm going to ask the caller, because of time constraints this morning, more so than before, keep your comments fairly short. Please, go ahead, please.
I will. Well, we have a real problem because our educational system is cranking out good little green socialists at both the high school level and colleges. But we have a problem here in the state with this Proposition 2 because in 2020 the federal government's going to drop paying that, and us citizens in Idaho are going to pay for the Medicaid expansion. So right now the feds pick up the tab, but that's going to change. We're going to get 90% of the bill, from what I understand, and all this stuff about getting money back from the federal government, our tax money. Of course, that just raises the national debt, which is $21.5 trillion now. And so we need to realize that Proposition 2 is going to open the floodgates for tax increases here in Idaho. And it really is a bad deal all the way around. And I hate to see the governor come out and endorse that thing. I don't think he's done his homework.
Well, okay.
I'd like to comment about that.
All right. Thank you very much. Rita, I got to admit, I've been on the fence with Proposition 2 myself. I think it's a slam dunk on Proposition 1 to save the horse industry. I believe it, and I know quite a bit more about it than most folks. That's not bragging. That's a fact. I've studied it, and I believe the Prop 1 should pass easily. But Prop 2, there's a lot of people that look at this and they go, I don't want to do this because it might fall back on my billfold, etc. But then on the other hand, we see a lot of hospitals that can't afford to keep paying out the services with no remuneration. What are your thoughts on Prop 2?
Well, my thoughts on Prop 2 are a Medicaid expansion is not good for Idaho. The second comment that I would make is what has happened in many other states where they expanded Medicaid, they weren't helping people who just couldn't afford insurance and kids and children and people with special needs. It ended up being numbers upon numbers, and the bigger majority of people who were working people that qualified but didn't even have children. And they were doing it because they couldn't afford or didn't want to pay for regular insurance. And so the state ended up paying for it. Well, these states are going to end up going broke because it does revert back to the states for the cost. And Kentucky is one of them. Matt Bevin had an excellent article in the Deseret News just last week, and he talked about it, and he said when they unilaterally expanded Medicaid in 2013 to include all able-bodied adults with no children, promises filled the air. Expansion would come at almost no cost to the Commonwealth's taxpayers. And so they had fewer than 200,000 new enrollees signed up And then they didn't have children, and so what happened is it ended up cutting out those who really needed the help and took on these other people who really needed to be paying for it on their own. And it is not good. It ends up turning into a Medicare for all, and when it turns into Medicare for all, Medicare is already in trouble and going to be broke, and it will be totally busted. And so that's the part that I fear. The biggest problem is you should not let government in on any of it. They need to just keep out of it and leave us alone. Let us do our thing. Don't make us buy it. If we want to buy it, we'll buy it. If not, we have the consequences.
Well, there again, Rita, I said I've been straddling the fence on this issue, reading this, reading that, and the number one thing that I've had a hard time with, honestly, and I think you and I have discussed this in the past, is the able-bodied, and I hate to use this terminology, but I think you'll understand where I'm coming from, the able-bodied that are not going to go out and diligently have the self-responsibility to get up and go to work and help pay for their own circumstances. That's something that I think has to be screened much more so than it is.
Well, that's really true. The big problem is this Medicaid expansion is not for those who aren't working. It may be some who are working and they just can't afford it because they've raised the levels of how much money you can make and how much a couple can make to where a lot of those people are making money. They just can't afford the high premiums with the other stuff, and it's like, well, I'll go on Medicaid because I can do that.
Well, it's an issue that I urge people. I've got some other subjects I want to get into this morning, and I want to tell everybody, too, and I want to be upfront and honest. I had a caller last hour that said when Governor Otter's on next hour, be sure and ask him about a flip-flopping, if you will, on this issue, Prop 2. Originally, the content for the segment at 10:19 was for Governor Otter to come on and talk about Proposition 1, the horse racing issue. I will interject a question about Prop 2, but I'm not going to turn the whole segment into it, so I want everybody to understand. Originally, we had talked to Governor Butch Otter about coming on for Prop 1 and not Prop 2, so understand where I'm coming from. Rita, I've got to ask you, before we take a little commercial break here, this caravan, pugnacious and boastful that they're going to come in and we can't stop them. Caravan 2 being formulated, Caravan 3 being put together, and more waves of people going to come up and thump our military in the chest and saying, we're coming in no matter what you try to do. I think this is one of the biggest problems that we're going to face in this decade. Do you think I'm wrong or right?
No, I think you're absolutely right. And our very biggest problem with this caravan isn't necessarily the people who are coming and wanting to come in here. It is our Congress, because we have laws on the book that says all they have to do, and this is anybody, this is people from Mexico or Honduras or Central America, anywhere, China, Israel, Iran, wherever in the world they want, if they get their foot on this soil and say, I want to seek asylum here, we have to let them do that. And what we do is we take their information, their situation, and say, okay, you show up on such and such a date, and we'll review your case. And you go forward, and you can just, in other words, you can just stay here, and we won't even pay attention
That's right.
to you anymore. That's the big problem, is Congress has no want at all to revoke that and say, we cannot continue to do this. We will look at their stuff if they submit requests through their embassies, and we will take care of that. But to let them come onto our soil and say, you come back in a year or whatever, and we'll look at it and let you do it, probably 95 to 98% of them never come back because they're tied up in red tape, and they're off doing bad stuff. And I'm sure that you heard about the ones that just the other day, it was yesterday or the day before, there's one guy who was coming from, I think he was from Honduras, who has murdered 3 people, and he was just leaving the country to come here so he can get away from the law. And there's a lot of the MS-13 people, and people will say, oh, it's just Trump, saying, oh, it's just those bad guys coming, but there's a lot of truth in that. How come there really aren't a lot of little families?
Well, right there, I want to interrupt and say something. And Deanna and I have diligently watched this and looked for holes in the screen door of some of these statements. You hear reporters say, well, it's mostly women with younger children and or families. And I beg to differ, and I beg to say that's a blatant, doggone lie. Last night, on all the different news clips that were shown, 99% of the people that were shown trying to clamber themselves up on trucks or cars or whatever, or walking down the road, were all young men, ages 18 to perhaps 30, waving their country's flag in kind of an arrogant manner. Don't give me this garbage about how it's all a humanitarian crisis of families. I'm not buying it.
Well, it's not, and it's become a free-for-all, and the Americans or the taxpayer is the one who's going to pick up the tab. But there are a lot of bad people that they will let into this country, and they have no right of being here. They should be in prisons in their own countries, and we just let them in and say, okay, if you'll come back on September 28th, 2020, we will review this and let you know if you can stay. Well, what are they going to do in the year or two or however long before?
Disappear.
If they don't show up, they go, oh, well, they must have just gone back home again, and they don't even pay attention to it.
I've got to do a weather forecast, and then I want to come back. And when I do, I want to talk to you about the United Nations. And I tell you what, I was so mad when I heard this story last night about the UN telling us, yes, you have to take these caravan people. I want you to give us your response right after the weather. Weather brought to you this hour by our friends at Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, and they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years with the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, financial statement preparation, retirement planning, and so much more. They've got offices in Burley and Rupert serving you. So please, serving is the key word. They can and will help you. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It is the first day of November, and it definitely feels like winter is in the air. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Mostly cloudy skies for today. It is going to be breezy, winds out of the west, right around 21 miles an hour. We are expecting gusts as high as 30 miles an hour and a high of 57. Tonight, those clouds are going to stick around. We are expecting a low of 43, wind gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. Now, tomorrow, we are going to be in a wind advisory. That is going to be in effect through 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Expecting a high of 62, gusts as high as 35 miles an hour. By Friday night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 37. Saturday, hopefully those winds are going to be dying down just a little bit. Out of the west, right around 16 with gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 50 for Saturday. Saturday night, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 37. By Sunday, 40% chance of showers in the forecast, mostly cloudy skies, and a high of 53. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. They are very diligent and very deserving of your business. They can help you with any and all of your business needs for you, your family, and your business as far as your taxes, knowing about the tax rates and the changes and the deductions, etc. They've been, like I said, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Wheels at the main station, please, may we have this word for Prop 2.
This is Governor Butch Otter, and I want to tell you why I support Proposition 2. Proposition 2 is an Idaho solution that would bring our tax dollars back to Idaho and expand Medicaid to tens of thousands of hardworking Idahoans, instead of Washington, D.C. sending our tax dollars to other states, like California, to pay for their health care. Proposition 2 brings millions of our federal tax dollars back to Idaho where it belongs. It will expand Medicaid to working Idahoans, people who work hard but can't afford health care. Proposition 2 isn't a handout. It's an Idaho solution that will help working families. Proposition 2 will help our rural hospitals save taxpayer dollars and create jobs. So join me and vote yes on Proposition 2. It's the right thing for Idaho.
Proposition 2, endorsed by law enforcement, doctors, business groups, chambers of commerce, and Governor Butch Otter. Vote yes on Proposition 2, paid for by Idahoans for Healthcare. Dr. Bruce Belzer, Treasurer.
Thank you very much. And right now back on the line with Rita Ramsey. And Rita, I'm sure you heard that story about the United Nations basically telling us, the United States, you will take those people from the caravan. Where in the world do they get this brazen personality attitude that the United Nations is going to tell us anything? That even makes the rancor in me even stronger to stand up and say, to heck we will.
Well, absolutely, and I think the way that they think that they can do this is because we had an administration who did what the UN said that we had to do. And so now they think that they are in charge. We have a lot of globalists who think, it's a one-world thing. John Kerry's one of them. He was a Secretary of State, so he was always just right in line with whatever they said would go. And we don't want to have to work hard to make policy or enforce something, so we'll just let those blue helmets or purple helmets or whatever color their helmets are, we'll let them dictate and tell us what to do. And therefore, we ended up getting a ton of refugees from countries where they may not be in our best interest, and those people are not interested in coming here and assimilating. They're interested in coming here and getting the free stuff. Many of them who come here are interested in harming us if we don't convert over to their ways. So it's really sad, but we had an administration who said, yeah, we'll do whatever you say because we don't want to have to be the ones making any kinds of choices or decisions, because if it doesn't turn out good, we can say, well, somebody else did it, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And that it's just passing the buck. There's no responsibility personally for them. And now we have abdicated all of the responsibility to the UN in certain areas, and they think they can make us do more.
I am so upset about this issue because Americans come first. I think our congressmen and senators have forgotten that. And then another story quickly I want you to touch on. I said this years ago when Bo Bergdahl was released and Obama let go of 5 really big-name terrorists out of the prison system and released them back into the Middle East. Everybody said, well, they're not going to be doing anything wrong. They're going to be monitored. No, they are back working for the Taliban, trying to figure out how to kill more of American soldiers. What a great trade that was, Barack.
Well, this is just proof of the things that President Obama did. He didn't do things that would strengthen our country, that would strengthen our military, that would bring all of us together and try to be good citizens together, even though we may have different views politically. It's called divide, make everybody mad at each other. We can break down the country if we can do that. And we knew when that happened, when he made that trade, and anybody with a brain in their head knew that those folks would run right back to the Taliban just as soon as they could and take up with them again. And Bergdahl, whatever happened to Bergdahl? Is he still around? Is he off the hook? Is he living in the mountains with his hippie parents? Just exactly where is he? What is he doing?
I'd like to know the answer to that question myself, because that is one of the biggest cover-up stories that I've ever heard in my lifetime. Since he went to court, especially, and where he is, what he's doing, what he's making for a living, if any, what he's living on, all of this. But we do know, on the other side of the coin, the terrorists are back planning to kill us. Isn't that a sweet story?
Well, yeah, and the other part of it that's really sad is they had approved to give him back pay plus damages, so he may be living high on the hog someplace off of us.
Absolutely. I'm out of time, but I want you to give me a real short 30-second dissertation. Don Lemon, black CNN host, said in general that white men are to blame for all the problems in the world today, and white males are terrorists and a terrorist threat. When I heard that, honestly, I wanted to throw my Tony Llama right through the TV screen. Quickly, your thoughts. I've got 30 seconds.
Well, my thoughts are if people would quit watching any of that kind of stuff, these loudmouths wouldn't have a forum anymore, and it's too bad that they actually have a forum because, I don't know, do they have more than 12 viewers? I swear.
That was a good way to wrap it up in shorter than 30 seconds. Hey, God bless you, Rita Ramsey. I always look forward to having you on the program. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll see you.
You bet.
Everybody vote.
Absolutely. Go vote. Thank you, Rita. Right now, I want to remind you, and I've lost all track of where I'm supposed to be right now. Oh, yes, it's starving to death time. How could I forget? Excuse me. If you're hungry at this time of the morning, you're starving to death like I am, and I am, that bowl of cereal at 4 o'clock did not last long. I know some great places for you to go, like the AC Drive-In at 601 East Main in Burley. Listen to this. All the shakes, like pumpkin shakes, black raspberry shakes, red raspberry shakes. Oh, that's so good. And the famous Farmer Brown burgers and the fries and the special sauce. All of this and so much more at, of course, the AC Drive-In. 601 East Main in Burley. Well, let's talk a little bit about Taco Bandito, 2301 Overland in Burley. One of the best places to get together with your friends in the morning for coffee. And don't forget, they got the pumpkin empanadas. Woo! And those breakfast burritos of scrambled eggs, bacon, sausage, cheese, onions, tomatoes, and sauce, all on a tortilla shell. Knock your boots off delicious. Taco Bandito, 2301 Overland in Burley. And two locations of Burgers Etc. 124 South Oneida in Rupert, 700 Overland in Burley. Oh, they've got a different soup every day to keep you warm and going. They've got a ham and cheese combo after 3 p.m. in the afternoon, only $4.99, including the sandwich and the fries and the drinks. Huckleberry shakes, all of this and more at Burgers Etc. 2 locations in Rupert and Burley. And last but not least, Steve-O's. Everything on their menu, absolutely fantastic. Food made the way you love it. At 290 South, 600 West of Heyburn. Buffalo burgers, cheesy broccoli spuds, and of course cupcakes. They've got all kinds of different flavors of cupcakes, and it's absolutely delicious all the time at Steve-O's, 290 South, 600 West of Heyburn. And those are just a few great places to go if you're hungry and starving to death. Wheels, could we please have the good word for Proposition 1?
It's an Idaho tradition going back generations, horse racing, and Proposition 1 will bring it back. Yes, on Proposition 1. It's all about Idaho, creating hundreds of local jobs, restoring millions of dollars to local classrooms, all with full transparency and real accountability. And the Idahoans sponsoring Prop 1 are doing even more, donating 100% of net profits from their horse racing operations to a new charitable foundation, the Treasure Valley Racing Foundation for Rural Idaho, dedicated to supporting education, scholarships, healthcare, and economic initiatives, serving rural families and communities all across our state, supporting programs like 4-H and FFA, and providing financial assistance to students pursuing degrees in areas like agriculture and animal science. Yes, on Proposition 1, the campaign with a heart for Idaho. Paid for by the Committee to Save Idaho Horse Racing, Create Jobs, and Fund Public Schools.
Thank you very much. Don't forget, Speaker of the House and District 27 State Representative Scott Bedke urges you to go vote next Tuesday. Know and understand Propositions 1 and 2. Know about the people that are running. And he wants you to vote for Brad Little for governor. Absolutely. Thank you, Scott Bedke, Speaker of the House and District 27 State Representative, and a man that has been a former director of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. He knows, and he's been serving you, Scott Bedke, paid for by Scott Bedke, District 27 Representative. Right now, in our hurried morning, we're going to get ready to go to the news next from CBS. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh, Oh, my. Play that piano. Good morning, hour number 3 on a busy, busy Thursday. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. Having a great big fall tire sale right now. And don't forget some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Wheels, if we could, have this good word for Proposition 2.
This is Governor Butch Otter, and I want to tell you why I support Proposition 2. Proposition 2 is an Idaho solution that would bring our tax dollars back to Idaho and expand Medicaid to tens of thousands of hardworking Idahoans, instead of Washington, D.C. sending our tax dollars to other states, like California, to pay for their health care. Proposition 2 brings millions of our federal tax dollars back to Idaho where it belongs. It will expand Medicaid to working Idahoans, people who work hard but can't afford health care. Proposition 2 isn't a handout. It's an Idaho solution that will help working families. Proposition 2 will help our rural hospitals save taxpayer dollars and create jobs. So join me and vote yes on Proposition 2. It's the right thing for Idaho.
Proposition 2, endorsed by law enforcement, doctors, business groups, chambers of commerce, and Governor Butch Otter. Vote yes on Proposition 2, paid for by Idahoans for Healthcare. Dr. Bruce Belzer, Treasurer.
Thank you very much, and don't forget the Bennett boys are going to have a great big, I mean really big sale coming up this Saturday. It's going to be the Sutco Incorporated and Mike Suter Estate Auction. 10 o'clock, they bring the gavel down Saturday morning, November 3rd, located north of Jerome, 450 East, 330 North. From the blinking light on Highway 93, go north 3.5 miles. Look for the signs. I bit my tongue. And, of course, they're going to have lunch by the Cook Shack. All of this and more with pickups and trucks and motorcycles, trailers, backhoes, construction items, tractor and farm equipment, steel containers, utility beds, shop equipment. This is a big sale. Coming up this Saturday, Sutco Incorporated and Mike Suter Estate Auction. It's going to be 10 o'clock Saturday morning, north of Jerome, put on by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. There is no sale too big. There is no sale too small. The Bennett Boys, yep, they sell them all. Absolutely doing a great job. Want to remind you, too, that Clark Kaufman, a very, very distinguished man that has done a great job, is one of our representatives. Representative Clark Kaufman, seat 25B. He has worked and supported funding for infrastructure for roads and bridges to maintain our export economy in the state of Idaho, and he supports and votes for funding for the aquifer recharge and water policies that keep everybody in business, but protects first in time, first in right for water laws. Remember, he urges you to go vote next Tuesday, November 6th. Representative Clark Kaufman, seat 25B, paid for by Clark Kaufman, Representative 25B. Thank you very much. Woo! And one more word before we go to our guest for this hour. And that, of course, would be for the big open house that's going to be over at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, coming up tomorrow and Saturday. This is a big annual open house event. Going to be a lot of fun. They're going to have lunch available on Saturday. They're going to have great deals both days on all the parts and accessories and prize drawings and special buys on all the Suzukis. I mean, run. Don't walk. Get over there. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold at their big open house. I know this man's waiting on me, and I've got to get him on the air, and we want to remind everybody that Cassia County School Days is brought to you by our friends at A Child's World, and they're located at 1308 Overland in Burley, and they've got all the new arrival of clothing from newborn to size 16, and they've got 5-piece suits, they've got the white shirts for the boys, they've got Cherokee scrubs and shoes, all of this with the games, puzzles, and toys, everything at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, and they bring us Cassia County School Days. And whew, with all that being said, I'm going to let him do all the talking. Good morning, Dr. Jim Shank, Cassia County Schools Superintendent. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I feel like a racehorse that was supposed to only go a mile, and we've been 10 miles, and nobody put me back in the barn. What is going on after your tenure so far at Cassia County Schools? I mean, I'm going to kind of put the onus on you this morning, Dr. Shank. What are some of the topics you'd like to discuss?
Well, there are always a lot of topics to talk and discuss about public education and what's going on in our schools. As far as what's going on, we're always focused on learning. That's our number one category, and literacy and math are always at the top, and so we always want to make sure that we're working hard towards that end. But in this time of year, there's always discussions about the legislature getting ready to fire up, and the school funding formula that's being discussed, and other types of things. So those are always on our mind. However, what's been on my mind lately is, when we take a look at our graduates that are leaving our high schools, what is it that we really want them to be able to know and do when they enter society? What type of skills are necessary? And, the focus on this particularly is when our students leave nowadays, because of the way the job market is, there are lots of industries, there's lots of types of jobs that they can choose, and so are they able to leave our system with the ability to make those choices effectively? And at the current unemployment rate that we have, are students prepared to work in an environment where there's a great need for them, and can they walk in with those skills that the employers want them to have?
Dr. Shank, let me say this. We have never had the opportunity yet to meet, shake hands, and get to know each other face to face. But I'm going to say this following statement, and tell me if you agree or disagree. I think for years, and I mean this when I say this, I think for years that education took the easy way to get kids through the high school ranks and just said, yep, you got to go to college. That was it, a blanket statement. I don't think they did a very good job of offering other alternatives, other choices, and other careers. Am I wrong or right?
Well, you're certainly not wrong. And that has been the mantra for some time, that you go through high school. The end goal is to go in and get a bachelor's degree at a university or state college. And, that message, I think, has changed. We've got to stop telling kids that if they don't go to a four-year institution that they're somehow not measuring up or they're some sort of a failure. They need to leave our high schools with the ability to make choices that are different, per se, than just a university. They may want a skills certificate. They may want an opportunity to go to a two-year school. They might even want to go into employment right after. It just kind of depends on their choices that they have available. And so we need to prepare them so that they can make those choices rather than only have a one-track mind.
Are the guidance counselors overall in high schools that you know of and what you read and what you study, are they more prepared to sit back and say, yep, you know what, we've pushed college and universities too many times to too many people that maybe weren't qualified or didn't want to go on to school as a college or university, and there's great jobs here, great opportunities here, electricians, plumbers. Man, I tell you what, I know some plumbers that are dragging down some really big bucks right now that are living in fancy homes and driving the best of cars, etc. There's a lot of opportunity out there.
There is, and I think our counselors are better at addressing those things. It's been a concern of the state. It's been a concern of our colleges and universities that kids are aware of what's available for them. And so I think our counselors are doing a better job than, say, years ago when it was just four-year school. And you're right. The Cassia County School District's been looking for a plumber to work for us for a long, long time, and there just hasn't been a great pool to choose from. So, those opportunities are there, and we just need to encourage kids to do that. And even in public education, that discussion about teacher shortages and speaking with students and, gearing them towards, have you thought about becoming a teacher? Because we need to be able to hire them.
Absolutely. Dr. Shank, I've got roughly about 3 minutes left in this segment. We've had to abbreviate some things for this morning due to all the political ads. I want to ask you this. I had a caller after a show a week ago, and a lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people have called in and said, are we putting too much emphasis on sports programs? And I had a long talk with one person, and I said, I absolutely believe that athletic programs and school curriculums have to go hand in hand to create a well-rounded student. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I agree with you. There needs to be a well-rounded emphasis, and the whole idea with extracurricular activities, or that whole umbrella of doing things after school, is to allow students to be able to take their talents and engage them in ways that they would choose to do. So as far as overemphasis, I think in terms of our system, we do invest money in that. We do invest resources. I don't know that it's overemphasized. I guess that's a point of debate. But, a lot of that's geared towards what our kids want to do and what our parents are willing to support. So it does get a lot of emphasis. But the whole point is kids that are involved in after-school activities do better in school.
And I think there's another issue there that quickly address. I think it also creates a pride in the school that wouldn't be there just with academics.
Yeah, I think you're correct. There's certainly a school pride that is emphasized and supported through students doing great things after school hours.
What are your thoughts after these months on the job? Are you happy? Are you absolutely giddy with the job and what's happening? Give us a little, kind of a reflection on how the first couple of months have gone.
Well, I think I'm very happy to be here, and I enjoy very much being a part of this community and part of the school district. And, we've had I would say, a pretty good start up to the school year, so things are moving along quite nicely. We had some changes that we managed at the beginning of the year, the changeover from the K-6 or to the K-6 program in elementary school, all of the construction projects that we were working on and are coming to a close. So I think things are going pretty well. And our results are showing so. We've got some pretty good data to stand on as far as student learning goes.
I want to thank you for being so easy to visit with on this segment. I look forward to having you on at least once a month. Dr. Shank, Superintendent of Cassia County Schools, thank you for the time here this morning.
And thank you, Zeb.
Take care. Nice gentleman, very nice, and very open and forthright about what's going on with Cassia County Schools. Dr. Shank, thank you very much. Brought to you by, of course, A Child's World at 1308 Oberlin and Burley. We thank them for all their sponsorship of Cassia County School Days. Wheels, let me know, is the governor on the line?
No, sir, I haven't had a call yet.
Okay, well, let me know the minute he is, and that will give us just a minute to catch up. Could we please have a word for Proposition 2?
This is Governor Butch Otter, and I want to tell you why I support Proposition 2. Proposition 2 is an Idaho solution that would bring our tax dollars back to Idaho and expand Medicaid to tens of thousands of hardworking Idahoans, instead of Washington, D.C. sending our tax dollars to other states, like California, to pay for their health care. Proposition 2 brings millions of our federal tax dollars back to Idaho, where it belongs. It will expand Medicaid to working Idahoans, people who work hard but can't afford health care. Proposition 2 isn't a handout. It's an Idaho solution that will help working families. Proposition 2 will help our rural hospitals save taxpayer dollars and create jobs. So join me and vote yes on Proposition 2. It's the right thing for Idaho.
Proposition 2, endorsed by law enforcement, doctors, business groups, chambers of commerce, and Governor Butch Otter. Vote yes on Proposition 2, paid for by Idahoans for Healthcare. Dr. Bruce Belzer, Treasurer.
Well, I'm sitting here, and we're waiting for Governor Butch Otter to give us a call, and we hope he's going to be calling in the next few minutes. He wanted to have some time to talk about Proposition 1, the horse racing issue, and furthering the horse racing industry and horse industry in the state of Idaho, and we're waiting for Wheels to give us that good word. Yes, sir.
I was just going to let you know that Mr. Butch Otter's on the phone.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have our governor on the line right now, and he's been a friend of mine for a long, long time. Good morning, Governor Butch Otter. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Zeb. I was a little hesitant on the nod, and I was late getting out of the queue.
That's all right. Listen, I appreciate your taking. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the program. We've known each other for a long time, Governor, and allow me to take the leniency to change just a little bit of what I wanted to ask you at first, and give me a short answer on this, if you would. A lot of people have been calling and asking why perhaps there was a changing of opinion on your voting yes for Proposition 2. Can you give us kind of a nutshell as to why you changed a little bit on your thinking as to why it would benefit the state?
Well, I never changed on the base reason, and that was that we had a lot of people that made too much money or not enough money, and they ended up in the gap. And I tried for 6 different years, Zeb, with the legislature in order to have a strict Idaho solution to that. And Prop 2 has resulted in being the only game in town. And those folks that signed that petition, along with the First Lady and I, finally decided, this is we can exercise our rights under the First Amendment to the Constitution, which is to petition. And they went out and got it done. To me, it's the only game left in town. Pardon me, I tried, I say again, and I'm repeating myself, Deb, but I think it's important to know that I never really changed my base concern about how do we help those people.
And real quick, what about the possibility of Prop 2, if voted yes, saving a lot of the rural hospitals and their coverage? Would you agree that's one of the important facets of Prop 2?
Well, we have a lot of rural hospitals that we have some that were closed. My old hometown, Council, Idaho, went without a hospital for a long time, simply because there were a lot of folks that couldn't get the coverage. A, B, or if they did, it was the county's first $11,000 that had to take care of the indigencies. And then the state catastrophic fund picked up the balance. But in many, many ways, the rural hospitals still weren't getting their cost of service.
Right.
And so they went broke. And those remote areas need the medical service just as much as the heavily populated metropolitan area.
Absolutely. I want to get into an issue that I know both you and I are going to agree on, because the horse industry across the United States is one of the most valuable parts of agriculture here in this country, and it's suffered as of late. And right now we've got a chance in the state of Idaho to bring a resurgence to the horse industry, and that's through Proposition 1 in favor of the horse racing. I'd like you to give us your reasons why people should vote yes on Proposition 1.
Zeb, you're absolutely, not only is it a big player, the horse industry in Idaho, at one time, and I apologize not knowing if this is still the case in the United States of America, but at one time we had the largest per capita ownership of horses in the nation. There were more horses in Idaho relative to our population than any other state. And the horse racing industry, when people think of that, all they think of is, well, it's nice for these horses to run on the track. But, Zeb, you and I roped together, it was several years ago, at a gathering. We roped together, and that horse that I headed off, that horse couldn't make it on the racetrack. But he became I roped off of him for almost 18 years. And I see cutting horses. I see pleasure riding horses. All these other horses that can't make it on the racetrack actually find a very fundamental and value to families and to other horse industry activities that we have, and so it's something that is a tradition for us. The horse racing industry is something that is a tradition, it's part of our culture, and so we've got a tribe in Idaho is a pretty good example that we're the first in the world to ever selectively breed horses.
That's right.
And I think the horse represents an awful lot to the state of Idaho, and the horse racing industry does too.
People don't realize, Butch, again, going back to the economic factors, the horse trailer sales, the feed and tax sales, everything else connected with the horse industry will flourish if we can pass Proposition 1.
There's a lot of industry in Idaho that is dependent on the horse industry itself, and if let's say we have 300,000 horses in Idaho, and I don't think that's an exaggeration. It may be. Easily, Zeb, we spend $1,000. I know I spend $1,000 a year on my horses. I've got 5 horses, and I easily, with feed, vets, maybe exceeding $1,000 a year per horse. Now, you add that to our $68 billion economy, and that's a pretty good chunk of it. That's over 5% of our total economy.
And we should also point out, I've got about a minute left on the program this morning, Butch, but I want you to please point out that we're not looking for an enhancement of gambling per se, but it's going to really aid and abet a lot of these tracks to come back into existence and flourish in the state of Idaho.
Well, you're absolutely right, and we proved that in the year and a half that we had historical horse racing in Idaho. And these folks that are claiming, well, they're nothing more than slot machines, listen, that's nothing new to Idaho. I can take you to 4 reservations in Idaho and the casino on every reservation where those slot machines are working right now. That's the biggest pushback that we have against that, and it's ironic because Idaho voted to put those people in business and to support their economic efforts, and now those people are putting millions of dollars into an effort to defeat by claiming that it's gambling.
Yeah. No, I absolutely, I really respect you for standing up and standing for Proposition 1 and 2. And Governor Otter, I wished I had more time. I don't. I'm out of time on this segment. But to you and your wonderful wife, Lori, I hope we see you someplace, maybe at an arena in Arizona or up here in Idaho, one of the two. God bless you, sir, and thank you for being on the program.
Zeb, we've been great friends, and I've always had a fondness for you. You're a great guy. Thank you so much. I love you, pal.
Thank you very much, Governor Butch Otter, and talking about Proposition 1, and we urge you to go vote yes on next Tuesday, November 6th. Wheels, I'm going to send it back over to you. We'll be back in just a few moments with a very nice lady, Representative Linda Wright Hartkin, standing by.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to our last half hour. And we're very blessed to have a lady on the program with us that is the current representative of Seat 24B in our legislature. Is that correct? Filling in for Steve?
No, I have filled in. He's still it until
he's still it. I made the mistake on that, and I stand corrected. You are running for that seat on a full-time basis, and I need you to get a little closer to that microphone. Linda Wright Hartkin is our guest for this hour. And, Linda, I've got a lot of respect for you and what you're trying to do. And when I was looking at all the different attributes that you have achieved on your card, where did you find time for all these things? I mean, besides being a wife, mother, and grandmother, jury commissioner, Twin Falls County clerk, I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
Well, the wife, the mother, and grandmother, I do it this simultaneously with this other stuff, but obviously jury commissioner and clerk of the court were one at a time until I then applied for and got from the Supreme Court, the district trial court administrator job.
Why don't you tell my audience, yesterday I had Representative Fred Wood, a very dear friend of mine, on the program. Why don't you tell the audience why? Why do you want to stick your foot in this puddle of water of being a representative for the state?
Well, I gave it a lot of thought. It's something that, in the back of your mind you think about that I've wanted to do for a long time. And then actually when my husband decided to do it, I just learned and watched all the things that he went through and the things that are involved. And I worked with people for 25 years in the courts. I've listened to every problem you could probably have. That was part of my job too. I've worked with county commissioners. I was the chief budget officer at one time for the county as the clerk of the court, and then as trial court administrator, I managed the budgets for the courts. And I would help the other 8 counties do their district court budget as well. But in Twin, I pretty much did that one myself.
And you develop patience.
You develop patience, and I kind of hate that word, but yes, you develop patience.
Politics today is not a very friendly gathering, and why do you think you can add to the fray up at the State House?
Well, I hope I can add because, one, I am a people person. I'm not angry, and I don't know. Do not understand where the anger comes from in politics today.
It's really bad, isn't it?
It's just awful. It's awful.
I'm much older than you are, I think, and I've never seen anything go to this level in this short a period of time.
I haven't either. I have never ever seen it, and I won't be part of that. I just will not be part of that anger.
This is a good point to bring up, though. How can we change this with people like you in the legislature?
I guess by working with people and learning how the process works, and just not assuming that you have to have your way.
On this program, I've had a chance and an opportunity to work with a lot of people of different mindsets than mine or vice versa. And I found out that in almost 90% of the time, if you'll sit down either before the program, during the program, or after the program and find some common ground, there is common ground.
There is common ground. We all love our state, or we wouldn't be here and be doing what we do. I love Idaho. What
do you think are the big issues that you personally feel you can help in the state of Idaho?
Well, the big issues, I guess, all of them you must have a handhold in. I feel like I can work on the opioid crisis thing, the drug things.
Absolutely.
I've simply worked with the drug problem forever, and through the problem-solving courts that I've created in the Magic Valley, and there's a lot I can do with that. You
have quite a few contacts that would be very valuable.
I do have a lot of contacts that would be very valuable, and just. You touch on a lot of aspects when you're in any kind of a job,
right?
And it's all very diverse. But working with the courts, you touch on a lot of things: the criminal realm, the civil realm. So there's lots of areas that I feel like I have expertise in.
You have an insight to a side of the problem that me and other people would never have a chance to view. Hopefully not. And you probably can see where there's some answers where the rest of us only see problems.
Well, I think so. And I think that sometimes we emphasize the problem so much, kind of like our juveniles. We emphasize the percentage of kids that are bad, and we don't think about the 90% of juveniles that are wonderful.
That's a key right there. I work with a lot of millennials, a lot of them, and I think it's easy, pardon the expression, to damn them, but when in essence we're only seeing and hearing about a small percentage that are standing on a street corner tin cupping it when the rest of them are going to work and doing something.
You're right, and they're so bright. They do things in a different way, and they're so bright. I just can't say that enough. And the millennials are here, and we do work well with them.
What about the growth of our state? I'm concerned for my grandkids that the state of Idaho all of a sudden is just going to bloom and have literally millions of people come into the state. How do we regulate really the growth versus what the environment is, etc.?
I don't know about regulating the growth, Zeb. You can't build a wall around Idaho, but I do think that we can be proactive in the growth, and we can be proactive in the resources, having them ready for things that are needed. Obviously, the growth that we have requires more schools, requires more water systems. In every aspect, things grow, and so we have to be proactive so that we're not always increasing tax dollars.
Absolutely. You touched on something that is a real pet peeve of mine, Linda, and I'm going to express it to you. I am sick and tired of any politician that comes on my program and condemns Idaho education, condemns it and damns it, and says that it's at the bottom of the barrel. One of the ads that offended me the worst was in the last election season when they showed some students being led off a bus out in the middle of the desert as no man's land. My children have been very successful, my son and my daughter. They graduated from some of the smallest schools in the state of Idaho, and it's all dedication, application, and drive that makes a success. And I think we've got all of those things in our Idaho schools.
Oh, I think we do too, Zeb. I have to agree. I have 5 kids that have gone through the system, and 2 of them graduated from a small school, 3 of them from a large school. They've all been to college. They all have great jobs. It's a good system. The kids all have drive. They all have, one of them right now, even though with a college degree, is a stay-at-home mom because she wants to make sure her kids do what she did, have that advantage. And I have respect for it, and I think that we take it. We get hit a lot with what we're not doing for education, and quite frankly, I think the state has been very, very proactive in bringing us up to, went through that recession.
Yeah.
The courts went through the recession. We had the same cut that the education had, and we learned to live with it, and we didn't get salary increases. We didn't increase our budgets. We just
throwing money at an issue doesn't necessarily going to solve it.
Well, it isn't going to solve it, and we need to be using the right numbers. We need to use the right numbers when we're measuring. We can't just use one survey that comes out of D.C.
Absolutely.
I've been reading surveys that the 4th grade math in Idaho, there's only 11 states that are above us.
That's right.
In the nation. 8th grade math, there's only 6 states. And we have 4th grade reading, only 6 states are performing higher, and 8th grade reading is just 2 are performing higher.
I had a coach one time tell the group, as a matter of fact, by building everybody up, we all played better. And that's what's not happening on the other side. By tearing down education, you're not making anything better. As a matter of fact, you're making it worse. We've got a great education system, I think, in the state of Idaho. Sure, improvements can be made, but let's not denigrate what we have.
That's true, and I think our teachers are hardworking. I have some teacher friends that are just, they're the salt of the earth.
Yep.
And they're there early, they're there late. They love those children. And can we do better? As you say, we always can do better. But I think that we have, in the last 5 years, there's been 39% increase in that budget.
Absolutely.
And I always say, as I said to the students yesterday, you go home and ask your parents if their businesses have had a 39% increase in the last 5 years.
What about the state and the environment? We're looking at a state that's going to grow. We're going to have a lot more people come in and going to make more demands on land, and it's going to keep pushing our environment and some of our resources further back. What are your thoughts on how we can kind of adjust for the growth and also maintain the integrity of a beautiful state of Idaho?
Well, I think I do think we have to trust our ranchers, our farmers, and all the people.
God bless you.
I think we have to work together in the multiple use of all of this stuff. We have timber that is bringing back to the state lots of dollars, and then they in turn plant new trees, and so then we don't have the fire expense. And the ranchers are out there, they're feeding it off with their cow-calf operations, and they're moving them from spot to spot, and so those places aren't burning. The ones that are burning are the ones that we aren't allowed to do that.
That's absolutely true. I'm going to be very blunt and ask you, how do you differ, and what are the main points of difference with you and your challenger for the same position, of course, Deborah Silver?
Okay, well, if you just take everything that I think and go 180 degrees the other direction, you about have it. I really am for low taxes. there's always a time when you have to increase something. We may need it. We may need more in our highways. We obviously need to continue on the path that we are with teachers. But I think as a general rule, we like to keep the money in our own pocket to send our children to college.
Absolutely.
And so I think that, I will tell you, I'm pro-Second Amendment. And
elaborate on that a little bit, because a lot of people, when they think of moms and grandmoms and the Second Amendment, a lot of people don't equate that.
Well, I know they don't equate that. And, I don't actually am not an active shooter anymore. That's not a term we used it in court as active shooter programs. So I shouldn't even say that. I don't go out and shoot. There was a time that I did. I did some trap shooting and some pheasant hunting, but I don't anymore, But I do believe that we have the right. We have the right to bear arms, and we shouldn't have to worry about having someone come in and take them away. And I intend to protect that. And I think that that's a big, big deal.
I think another thing that always is passed over, it's not just for the right to bear arms and go hunting, it's also for the protection of our families.
For the protection of your homes and your families and your property. We've had a couple incidences at our place. So it's something that we have the right to do, and if you choose not to, that's your decision.
Do you see, as working through the courts like you have and being closer to this issue than me or anyone else listening in the audience, that we're getting away from the victim and we're giving much too much power to the perpetrator of the crime, whether it's the protection of property or whatever?
Well, yeah, I think we might have. I do think what they passed last year was good. In the legislature, it was great, that we do have the right to protect ourselves. And I do think sometimes the defendant has more leeway than the victim.
Absolutely.
And you want to protect that.
Absolutely. Linda, we have on our program a unique situation. When you hear supposedly in your headsets a moo of a cow, that means a telephone call.
Okay.
So we have a caller. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air. Quickly, please.
Hi, Linda. I like what you say, but there's one
I'm not hearing.
Bring up about gasoline tax. Now, to mow my lawn, I go down and I buy 5 gallons of gas, and on that 5 gallons of gas, I'm paying $2.50
right there
for that privilege to come home and mow my lawn. It has nothing to do with the roads. What are your thoughts on that?
I hate...
And caller, what happened was there was a short in the wiring. I'll take the blame for that. Repeat your call. Really give us a quick synopsis about roads and taxes quickly, again, real fast.
Okay. The fact that if I go down to the gas station and buy 5 gallons of gas to put in my lawnmower, or even if you have an RV that's off-road, you're paying on 5 gallons of gasoline, you're paying $2.50 in road tax, and I think that is not quite right.
Oh.
I'd like to know your opinion.
Okay, good question. Thank you. What about the taxes on fuel, the road taxes, etc., to hopefully support the infrastructure? What are your thoughts, Linda?
Well, I hadn't given a lot of thought to the off-road. I know that the people that came in, was it last year, that have electric cars, and they were being charged a little extra, and I believe they fixed that.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably this gentleman has a true gripe, and I would hope that they would at least look at it and see. And I've not been there, so I guess I have to learn that process as well.
I've talked to Scott Bedke and I've talked to Fred and others. It's great to say, well, we're going to tax the paying public higher gasoline taxes, etc., and maybe that money will be dedicated for the infrastructure. But sooner or later, you've got to look at the taxation on fuel and say, my goodness, if you cut back and you force people not to drive, you're losing the money that could go for taxation. We've got to have some kind of a balance there.
Mm-hmm.
That's my feeling anyway. I wanted to ask you about your stance on pro-life. I am very strong on pro-life, and I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Well, that's another area where I differ with my opponent. I am very strong pro-life, very, very strong, and I don't even know that there's any wiggle room.
When you say wiggle room as compared to your opponent, I guess we're looking at kind of the Planned Parenthood approach, of which I absolutely am against.
I'm against Planned Parenthood.
I think that our taxpaying dollars going into Planned Parenthood is wrong. What are your thoughts on that?
I would agree with you, Zeb, and I guess, and I'd like to also make sure and look at the Prop 2 to be sure that if that does pass, that there aren't dollars going into Planned Parenthood.
You know, and I really respect you for saying that. And we have another call with a question. Go ahead, caller, please. Quickly, you're on the air. I have a shortage of time.
Yes, I realize that this is not something you can solve, but it is. I just wanted to get your opinion. When we don't manage our forests and we have a Thin the Threat campaign, Thin the Threat campaign that has worked somewhat, but nobody really cares. And this last summer, we watched forests across this west. I forget how many million acres and how many hundreds of thousands burnt in Idaho. And we just continue to act like it's not something we're going to take care of. Every time we burn down the forest, you lose habitat, we lose the forest, we lose the timber, we lose the money that could have been revenued from it. Mismanagement is killing us. And I don't see, we talk a lot about it, and I know it's not something that you can solve, but we have got to solve this problem. I'll hang up.
I think he's very passionate about what he said, and we saw this about 15 years ago or so with the fires up in the McCall area and up in that area. Federal lands absolutely were a tinderbox, and our state lands that were much better managed, the fire hazard was much less severe. What are your thoughts in regards to what he was saying in his statement?
Well, I totally agree with him. Unfortunately, we have the Good Neighbor Policy Act now that was actually federally passed in Congress in 2015. And Idaho, it works the Department of Lands with the Fish and Game, or the Forest Service, the Forest Service, and they are now managing so many different plots, mostly in northern Idaho, of course, and it's good. They're timbering it, and they're then replanting it, and they're working together. They have an agreement to work together. They all put in a little seed money, and it's with hopes of 5 years that it will pay. It will be self-funding, and they try to add new properties to it every year. And it's a great program. So yes, they're finally, when they went around the state a couple of years ago, that's one of the things they found out. People wanted to see co-management. They don't necessarily want to see Idaho own the property but they do want to see co-management because they know that we manage better.
Well, there's got to be logical management.
Yes.
And I agree with you, and I really like the fact that you have said this because my son was a firefighter back in those fires back up northern Idaho, and now he's a full-time fireman up in Boise for the Boise Fire Department. And the ravaging that took place in our state and the waste was absolutely ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and to let that go up in smoke when it could have been timbered, even the dead stuff could have been timbered.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times they will not allow that. But now by working together and managing it together, they can even prosper off some of this money.
Linda, I'm going to put the ball in your court right now, and I want you, if there's any other issues that are very important to you, I've got about 2 minutes left. I'm sorry for the shortness of the segment, but with all the other ads, it makes for the brevity. But what are some of the other items that you would like the public to know about you, Linda Wright Hartkin, as you run for seat 24B?
Well, I want them to know that I am my own person. I'm not my husband, and I know that question is asked.
My wife says that all the time.
Well, Stephen says that too. I've substituted for 5 weeks in the legislature 2 years ago, so I could hit the ground running. I know that there's still an amount of learning that I have to do, a large amount. But I'm ahead of the game.
Absolutely.
And my budgeting experience for the county and for the courts will help. My problem solving and program planning experience will help. And I'm a people person, and I'm a good listener.
Absolutely.
I will not take my problems to Boise. I will take your problems to Boise.
I like that. I'm going to be back with a wrap-up. But right now, Wheels, if you would, please, may I have this good word for Proposition 1?
It's an Idaho tradition going back generations. Horse racing. And Proposition 1 will bring it back. Yes, on Proposition 1. It's all about Idaho, creating hundreds of local jobs, restoring millions of dollars to local classrooms, all with full transparency and real accountability. And the Idahoans sponsoring Prop 1 are doing even more, donating 100% of net profits from their horse racing operations to a new charitable foundation, the Treasure Valley Racing Foundation for Rural Idaho, dedicated to supporting education, scholarships, healthcare, and economic initiatives, serving rural families and communities all across our state, supporting programs like 4-H and FFA, and providing financial assistance to students pursuing degrees in areas like agriculture and animal science. Yes, on Proposition 1, the campaign with a heart for Idaho. Paid for by the Committee to Save Idaho Horse Racing, Create Jobs, and Fund Public Schools.
Wheels, let's quickly get a weather forecast on here for Scarrows Meats at 331 North Road, Jerome. Absolutely the most delicious meats, Scarrows Meats. Don Scarrow and his crew really working hard to serve you and changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Here's Gina with the weather quickly.
It is the first day of November, and it definitely feels like winter is in the air. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Mostly cloudy skies for today. It is going to be breezy, winds out of the west, right around 21 miles an hour. We are expecting gusts as high as 30 miles an hour and a high of 57. Tonight, those clouds are going to stick around. We are expecting a low of 43, wind gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. Now, tomorrow, we are going to be in a wind advisory. That is going to be in effect through 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Expecting a high of 62, gusts as high as 35 miles an hour. By Friday night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 37. Saturday, hopefully those winds are going to be dying down just a little bit. Out of the west, right around 16 with gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 50 for Saturday. Saturday night, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 37. By Sunday, 40% chance of showers in the forecast, mostly cloudy skies, and a high of 53. That's a look at your weather forecast.
Thank you, Gina. And the weather brought to you this hour in abbreviated commercial for our dear friends at Scarrows Meats. Don Scarrow and his crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Call them 324-7657, Scarrows Meats. Real fast, our major sponsor, Randy and the crew, all the great 7 Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Center locations with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Poline and Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Great, big, huge fall tire sale going on right now. Check it out. Along with the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries, the people that really serve you and take care of their customers, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Linda Wright-Hartkin, I wish you luck and a lot of success November 6th, next Tuesday. I want you, and I'm saying this personally for me, I want you to win that District 24 BC. Don't you dare blow it, okay?
Okay, I will not. Thank you, Zeb.
We need you in there. We need people with the value system that you have, and I really encourage everybody to go vote for Linda. She is a sharp lady. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zeb, for letting me be here this morning.
You're very welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to unsaddle the horse and let it sit for about 3 or 4 days. We're going to be back on Monday at 8:06. We'll ride again for 3 hours, 8 to 11, right here on Zeb at the Ranch, and then also streaming live all over the world on ZebBell.com. God bless you, and remember, the way things were, the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. Have a good day.